All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hand Community Board 3's Executive Committee meeting for the month of January 2022. I'm the chair, Paul Rangel. I hope everybody has had a good new year so far, all 20 days of it, and hopefully we're off to a good start. So with that being said, let's start with attendance and go ahead, Larissa.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, calling attendance for Paul Rangel,
Present.
Eric Diaz,
Nope.
Tariq Durrell.
Nope. Oh, he's
Oh, I
here.
thought I
Excuse
saw
me,
Tariq
excuse me,
here.
I see him.
Tariq
Yeah.
is here.
Okay,
Yes,
Tariq
I'm
is
here.
here. Hi, Tariq. Okay, Larissa, present. Laura Lugo.
Present.
Thank you. Herman Hewitt.
Here.
Thank you. Mei Lee.
Here.
Jackie Wong. Absent. And Linda Jones.
Here.
Michelle Coopersmith.
Present.
Trevor Holland.
Present.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Larissa, can you call Erica again, please?
Oh, sure. Eric Diaz. Ah, there he is.
And
Eric,
Tariq.
you're on mute.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Tariq, right?
yeah, Tariq is present. We got him. Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Larissa. So our first item is the approval of the minutes from December. I believe we sent those out in December. Any objections or any alterations that we need to make to the minutes from December 2021? Don't everybody yell at once. Okay. So hearing none, our minutes are approved. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is there's some legislation that came out involving the SLA late last month, right before the end of the year. I'm going to ask both Michelle and Susan just to explain a little bit about what happened with this legislation and why we need a potential reso before we move forward.
You start, Michelle.
Okay, sure. So last month, I believe, oh, sorry, I'm in the elevator. Maybe Susan, can you go first?
Okay. Excuse me, I have to swallow. Okay, so at the end of last month, legislation was signed which allows New York City liquor license applicants to apply for a temporary license, which is allowed in the rest of New York State, but not New York City. The reason they need to do this is the state liquor authority is so far behind. It easily takes up to 9 months to get a license, even for ones that the community board supports and don't have to go to a full board. So instead of fixing the problem at the SLA, they're creating a new process to get a temporary license in the meantime, which takes about 3 months. For new licenses, so the reason we spend a lot of time on SLA applications, and so it's an extra burden on the board, on the office, and on the committee if we hear all these additional licenses. So for applications that we've already approved, but they have not received their license, they are submitting now separate forms to apply just for a temporary license. So we're getting bombarded with them already in the office. That's the reason it's on the exec agenda as a time issue. Is we can't wait a whole month because we're getting bombarded. And what we decided would be fair is that if the community board has already approved the license with stipulations, they wouldn't need to do anything because it's just a matter of having a temporary license for a while and then going on to the license that we approved. We agreed that if we had denied them, and I think there's maybe 4 that we've denied, that we will then go to the 500-foot hearing and ask at that point to have the temporary also denied, which is the process to take. for the new licenses, we really don't need to do anything. They're coming to us with just an extra box checked off. So this is to deal with the pending licenses under this new legislation with as little work as possible where it's not needed, and to be able to deal with it where it is needed. Michelle, did you want to add anything to that? She's still in the elevator.
No, I'm upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. I had to turn my laundry. I timed it poorly.
You have a life?
I'm sorry. I have a
said you
life. Oh,
To attend to?
who knew? Am I echoing?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I think it's just basically that our decision has not changed since we heard the applications initially, just because they're eligible for a temporary license does not change our position, was our feeling. So that's why we thought we should pass this resolution. Just reiterating our position on the existing licenses that we've already passed. And this won't be an issue going forward because any new applications that are coming through will just be checking a box that says I'm applying for a temporary license and a permanent license. It's only for the applications that we've already heard and either approved or disapproved. But if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
Take any questions from the executive
Yeah,
committee.
I-
Linda,
I-
go ahead. You have your hand up.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Let me understand, suppose we did not approve it and they went over our heads to the SLA, would they then be able to get a temporary license?
There is no such
So-
thing as going over our heads. What do you mean by that?
I mean, if we deny them and they go ahead and go to the SLA directly.
So that's the process, that they are not going
I
directly.
I understand
So
that's the
I can-
process.
I
My
can-
question is, what happens then?
So for this
Well,
situation, there's 3 different categories that the temporary license law allows for. One is beer and wine applicants are automatically eligible for a temporary license. They'll have certain stipulations on them while they're waiting for their full license.
Right.
Second category is for full liquor licenses not subject to the 500-foot law. Similar to beer wine, they are automatically eligible for a temporary license with stipulations. The third category, and probably the most pertinent one for us, are full on-premises liquor licenses that are subject to the 500-foot rule. Those do not automatically get a temporary license. They will only be eligible if the 500-foot administrative judge says you can have it. So if you see I think it's the last therefore be it resolved is just reiterating, if we've already denied them, we will go, Susan or I, or Susan most likely will go to that 500-foot hearing and say, please do not allow a temporary license. We've denied them for these reasons. So that's sort of the process there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and at this point, they're not even allowing us to go to the 500 as submitting testimony. So we will submit testimony saying deny them.
Okay. Is there any other questions for either Michelle or Susan? Seeing none. Okay, so earlier this morning or afternoon, there was a draft reso sent out. Is there a motion to put that reso on the floor?
So moved.
Okay, that's one. Is there a second?
Second.
There we go. Linda, do you have it? Can you pull it up for us? I know you have
Yes,
that.
I'd be happy to.
Appreciate it, just so everybody can see it.
That's it right there. Oh, you seeing it?
Yeah, I see it fine. Does everybody see it?
Yes.
All right, so I'm just going to read through it and then we'll move to a vote or if there's any questions about it. All right, whereas in December 2021, legislation was passed to allow applicants for the State Liquor Authority, SLA, licenses to simultaneously apply for temporary licenses while their applications for permanent licenses are pending approval by the SLA. And whereas license applicants that were heard by and had resolutions passed either in support or opposition by community board theory prior to the signing of the legislation are now allowed to apply to the SLA for a temporary license while their applications are pending, but are required to give notice to community boards. And whereas Community Board 3 carefully considers all licensing applications, and the option of temporary licensing does not change the board's position on any previously heard licenses. So therefore, be it resolved, Community Board 3 will not take action to rehear any applications that have already been approved with stipulations as they seek temporary licenses, and therefore be further resolved for pending licenses that have been heard and denied. CB3 will offer testimony to the SLA requesting denial and ask the SLA to not issue temporary licenses for any applications that it has already heard and denied. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, any amendments to this resolution? Please use the raised hand feature. David Crane, go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment. Would it be advisable for you guys to add a whereas explaining the timeliness of it, because it always comes up whenever the exec sends a motion?
I don't think, I'm going to say I don't think we should, because then it would be going, I think we can explain it. That should be part of the explanation.
Good, I understand. Good.
Thank you, David. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, so I'm not gonna do a roll call vote. I'm just gonna do a raise hand. Anybody in favor of this resolution, please raise your Zoom hands or your regular hands.
I think you have to do a roll call.
I'm gonna have to do a roll call. All right, it's fine.
I believe the charter requires that it be captured somehow.
Sure. All right. Larissa, can you go through us name-wise for the roll call vote on this resolution?
Sure. Roll call vote to approve the resolution as written. Paul Rangel,
Yes.
Eric Diaz,
Sorry, yes.
Tariq Darrell,
Yes.
Marissa Schoenberg, yes. Laura Lugo,
Yes.
Herman Hewitt,
Yes.
May Lee,
Yes.
Linda Jones,
Yes.
Michelle Coopersmith,
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. All right, everyone can put their hands down. My apologies. I realized it. Thought I could just do the raise hand feature. I like the raise hand feature. That's what it is. All right, so that moves through. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Susan. All right, so I'll just go right to my board chair's report. Larissa, did you have your hand up for something else?
No, sorry, just trying to toggle between three screens.
Copy.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so as you can see, my dream of having this meeting face to face did not come true. As we are back on Zoom, there was the governor did sign last week to continue virtual meetings while we are in this pandemic. We are thankful to the state elected officials for pushing that forward, and we will be on Zoom for the foreseeable future. If things change and maybe lighten up, I will ask all of you ahead of time if we would want to meet as an executive committee face to face, but I will do that ahead of time. Not necessarily in February, but hopefully when things calm down. I think we've hit our peak, but who knows if the Megatron variant shows up or something like that, and we're back to all this stuff again. So, I hope everyone is staying safe and staying at home. I know it's been a difficult holiday season, so I just want everyone to be safe, and that's my number one priority. I went to my second borough board meeting this morning. DA Bragg was there presenting. A couple questions were asked of him. As you know, he's just taken office a couple weeks ago, and he's had a lot of heat on him already. So I am just going to shift that to saying that he will be at our board on Tuesday night. So whatever questions we may have for him. Not exactly sure yet specifically as to what his time is like yet for Tuesday night. I know we're trying to get him on probably as one of the first officials to speak if he's on quickly. I think we try to give him a time to come in, but he will be on Tuesday night presenting to CB3. He did present to the borough board this morning with our new borough president, Mark Levine, and it went pretty well. Went in 2 hours. They gave the chairs only 3 minutes to give our reports. Some of the chairs did not like that so much. I was thrilled with that. It was a little. I'm a little different when it comes to that, but it was fine. I thought it went well. I'm getting my feet wet in terms of the borough board meeting and getting used to listening to what some of the other community board chairs and some of the different things going on. So that was borough board this morning. Let me just, I'm sorry, I'm looking, if I keep looking away, I'm just looking at my notes. As you can see, David Crane is on tonight. I'm appreciative of David coming on tonight. He did chair transportation this past 2 weeks ago. It was like going back to the future. It was thankful to David for doing that. I may ask him to do some more, but that'll be a separate conversation. I'm not going to ask of you right now, but I'm definitely appreciative of that. But that leads me to my other topic. I think some of the most difficult things I have right now is replacing me at transportation. And so I need a chair for transportation, a permanent chair. And whoever you may recommend, please let me know. You don't have to sit on the transportation committee right now. They could be from another committee, and maybe somebody you feel is ready to step up. I'm all ears and open to suggestions. Please let me know. I've been scrambling and looking through the board member list and reaching out to people. That's the tough one to fill right now. Just wanted to talk about communications overall as well. Just keeping the office and myself in the loop on a lot of projects that are going on. I know there's a lot of different things going on that we all have our hands in. I know I spoke a little bit about conflict of interest in executive last month as well as full board. I know we wear different hats, and I'm very appreciative of the passion everybody puts into the projects that they are working on or have an involvement in. But please keep the office in the loop on any of those communications. Keep myself in the loop if need be. Feel free to reach out to me. I know some board members have already reached out to me for different questions, comments, and just wanted to check in, and that's perfectly fine. And I will also reach out to all of you, but just keep all communications that are board relevant open to myself, to the district office, to Susan, so that way we know what's going on and we are of best service to you. That way we're not working in silos and figuring out stuff from third parties. I think the biggest, for lack of a better phrase, culprit has been DHS and all of this. And at Borough Board this morning, I found out they've had some bad communication with other boards as well. So it's good to know that we're not the only ones who are kind of in a little bit of this predicament with DHS and their communication on different projects. So that was, and I reached out to one of the board chairs about that lack of communication. They said they were blindsided by DHS with one event that they were working on for a while. So it kind of ringed true for some of the things that we're dealing with here. So I've also started doing my meetings with elected officials. I want to thank Susan for setting up a lot of those. Yunli New, we met with her a couple of weeks ago, right before New Year's. We also met with our new community board liaisons for the Manhattan Borough President's Office, Eric and I can't remember her other name. I can't remember the name. Susan, I'll remember. I'll figure it out. But I know Eric's going to be our liaison, and it was a very productive meeting, and we got a good understanding. I also met with Councilmember Rivera. That was a very productive conversation. I believe we're meeting with Brian Kavanaugh tomorrow. So I'm trying to get all these meetings in so they can understand our board priorities while in this time of transition. I have one more thing. There was some stuff brought to my attention about the variant and school attendance and school issues. Nothing was formally brought to my attention that would rise to the level of a potential reso here tonight. I wanted more information. I didn't get that information from education leaders within the district. I know things are probably changing a little bit and attendance is coming up, but anything of that sort, please let us know or let the office know if there is any issues going on with schools and attendance and variants and testing and whatnot. Please let us know. I'm sure I had one more thing, but I didn't write it down. So in the light of my own stuff being efficient, I am done for the night on that. I'll take any questions, comments, concerns, jokes, or poems. I think Laura liked that one. All right. No questions, comments, concerns? Okay. That being said, I will turn it over to the district manager and her report. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, thank you. Also short report. First one's a very mundane housekeeping thing. The Transportation Committee at one time was a joint committee within one committee. It was Transportation, Environment, Sanitation, and Public Safety. And the two committees were, the two joint committee were collapsed. When we did that, somehow the sanitation dropped out. Now the committee keeps dealing with sanitation issues, but it's not in the title. I just want an okay to put it back in the title.
My question is an environment already in the title? Wouldn't that fall under that?
No, environment and sanitation, because we're basically dealing, different areas deal with different agencies, and sanitation does not deal with environmental issues. Department of Environmental Protection deals with environmental issues.
Sure, but I have no objection to that. I don't know if there's
Okay.
anybody else wants to. Trevor, go ahead. Trevor, and then David.
Procedurally, is there anything we need to do? Because I know we added resiliency to parks and waterfront, and that was just as simple as this, but that was a different era.
We're just fixing a mistake. I mean, that's the way I see it. I think it just got, I think it was an accident. No one realized it.
Okay.
David?
Yeah, I agree. It's probably accurate. I was going to say that environment, originally when we wanted it, we were thinking we just needed a place in which to put different environmental processes that didn't have an obvious home. Almost neither here nor there. Generally, though, it's a list of agencies in the title of the committee.
Yeah. Yep. And we particularly dealt with environment after 9/11 a lot, and not so much anymore. Okay, May has.
Yeah, go ahead, May.
I'll email you later, Susan, but I was just looking at our human services description that's currently on the website, and it has reverted back to a description that was from a long time ago. So maybe it was just a mistake, like the wrong description was uploaded, in the transfer from to the new website. So I'll just send you the.
Yeah, that's a different kind of mistake. We're dealing every day. We find more things that happened or that didn't happen that should happen when the websites transitioned. One of the things we found is all the links we didn't know. We have to go back in and reconnect every link. So it's been a real headache, and I very much appreciate anytime you find something, let me know. And if you can remind us the exact wording, that would be really helpful. The other thing, well, actually, most of what I had was going to be covered. I'll just add community assistance unit. There's a new commissioner who is really gung-ho. He actually met with all the district managers at his request already. He worked in the agency under Bloomberg when it really worked well. And they really advocated for us and helped us. And he says he's going back to that. So we're feeling very hopeful that we'll have at least one avenue for help. Another thing I just want to report, most of the agencies that we're dealing with are still working like a 50% staff level. A great deal of that is because of COVID, also because they can't hire people. So it's just sort of an FYI. It's very frustrating for everybody, but it's just something we have to deal with. Just one other heads up. For the full board meeting, we will have an American Sign Language interpreter. He will be pinned to the screen, so he will be in the front the whole time. The resident who is deaf does want to participate in public session. So I think he will sign and the interpreter will voice his concerns. I have to confirm that. But Linda and I actually spoke to Beta NYC, and they, told us that pinning was the best way to do it. Closed captioning, which we're starting to use now for all our meetings, is helpful to a lot of people, but because it doesn't capture every word correctly, it doesn't replace, having American Sign Language interpretation. And that's about it, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Susan?
I guess can the closed captioning also provide can you like translation as well? To another, I mean, it's probably not perfect. There would be machine translation, but
for
yeah, I mean that's another issue. But just for now, since we will have closed captioning, I guess that feature is included.
You need somebody to type.
Board and see.
You need somebody to type in. We've already inquired about that. In order to close caption in another language, you need somebody to type in the words. But it doesn't, there's not automatic translation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? So you all are about to hate me. I remembered what I was going to say at my last thing. So before I move to the committee reports, I'm actually just going to talk about committees in general really quick. That was the last thing I wrote down and I skipped it over. Just so I am looking at potentially switching committees up in the next couple months, maybe folding committees into other committees just for advocacy purposes and because they lack agenda items, and maybe creating new committees. So some of you may have been hearing rumors or stories about it. I know I kind of addressed it last month, but it is something I am taking a serious look at with some of the committees that haven't really had agenda items over the past couple of months, and how we can fold them in to other committees, and how that makes perfect sense, how that makes sense, and how it makes sense for everyone, and putting everybody in the best position possible going forward. So the two committees that I have been kind of looking at, one is economic development. I did speak with the now former chair, Anisha, about it. She recommended it might be potentially an idea to move economic development under the land use umbrella at some point, but I'm not committed to that, and I won't do that without the executive committee's approval first. So I want all of you just to start thinking about that. Feel free to reach out and have questions about it at some point. That's not something we're going to make a decision about tonight. It's just something I'm looking at. And also as well as maybe, I don't know what's officially going to happen with NYCHA next month, NYCHA Section 8, but maybe formalizing them under the land use committee and expanding it a little bit to include NYCHA housing under that umbrella on a monthly basis, as opposed to a subcommittee that meets every other month with a limited agenda or no agenda at all. So those are the two ones I'm kind of looking at and circling, just so we could get the best use out of both items going forward. That's the last thing. And also I did send an email out last Friday saying which email I'm using. I'm using cb3chair@cb.nyc.gov. Any board communications for me, use that email. If a lot of you have my personal email, that's perfectly fine. If you just say, hey, Paul, can we chat? Not a problem. You can shoot me a message, a text message, carrier pigeon, whichever, that's fine. That's okay. But that is the formal email for any board related communications. That's the end of my stuff. All right. Sorry about that. I will move to committee reports unless there's questions for me. David?
I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be just observing, but check in the bylaws before you make committee
Yeah.
accommodations. I believe that it may require a vote of the full board.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've been looking through that. It's just on my mind and thoughts, and I wanted exec to hear it first that's kind of where I'm going. But yes, I know it will require the full board. Thank you, David. Okay, that being said, we are going to go to committee reports, and we're going to lead off with Michelle and SLA.
Thanks, Paul. We were supposed to consider 4 applications this month, but one of the applicants did not bring a petition to the meeting and then disappeared. So we denied for non-appearance. We denied another application at 109 Ludlow Street after a lot of community opposition. And then we approved 2 other applications. I believe, Susan, both of them signed their stipulations.
They did, but the guy who disappeared showed up again and is on the agenda for February with petitions. So we'll mark it as withdrawn for January.
Okay, all right. So we'll just. I think that's what I put. I think I put withdrawn.
You actually already did that.
Yeah. Okay, all right. If anyone has any questions, but that's it.
Any questions for SLA? No, good. Thank you, Michelle. All right, Trevor, Parks.
A second. Okay, we did not have any resolutions. However, as we do every month, we have a very long meeting because it's a discussion about the construction of the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project. One thing to note is that a piece of the park is already open. I know that wasn't celebrated due to what's going on, but there is a passive lawn that is actually open. If you want to be one of the first people to use it, it's located at the southern portion, and it's an open field, although it's probably a bit chilly out there. Plus Pool was supposed to come out for this past month. They did not. They should be returning next month. That is the proposed pilot pool that will go in the East River off of Pier 35. We will hear more about that hopefully next month, but that is something that is looking, the mayor's office is also looking at it as a potential way to use our waterfront, not only for the Lower East Side, but other parts of the city. Any questions?
Any questions for Trevor?
If I could just let Trevor know that you wanted Basketball City on for February, but we just found out that Bruce will be out of the country. So I'll get back to you on whether you want
to March. Move to March.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. As I mentioned earlier, we went back to the future in transportation. So David, could you just give us a quick update of what happened on transportation?
Yeah, we heard an update after about a year. We heard an update about the Grand Clinton situation. They have a concrete proposal. So we actually have 2 items we want on the next month's agenda. One is the proposal that the DOT made, which, to summarize it, is don't have left turns off of Grand onto Clinton, have them onto Norfolk Street instead with related changes. Anyway, they want support from us. That'll be one agenda item. And the other one is we brought up, we want to consider a resolution asking for protected bike lanes on Clinton from South Street up to Delancey Street. Yeah. That's it. There was one other item, but I'm forgetting. Oh, it was an update about rats. That's it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you chairing last month. I do appreciate that. I know there was a lot of work being put into the bikes, and I want to thank Michelle for that. And I know there's a lot of work being put in, and I know there's a potential resolution on for February's meeting. There was no economic development update. They had no meeting. 5 May, Human Services.
Not much to report on. We'll have something for, there's lots of excitement always, but that we'll have something for at full board for people to vote on. You know, it's just a letter. And that's about it. You know, I don't recall receiving the vote sheet, but I'll look around in my email. Maybe I just missed it.
I don't think the vote sheets come out yet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I didn't miss it.
No.
Okay. Okay. Very
Excuse
good.
me, if
I don't know if people have questions, but.
If I could announce, vote sheets always are posted on the website on Friday. We purposely, oh, I see. So
You
we,
know how we get a draft to check? just to check to make sure it's correct?
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Ed didn't actually get it finished because stuff came in today till very late. And I'm going to be honest, I think everybody's still kind of off process. It just didn't happen. What I will do is I'll try and either send it out to you tonight if I can, my log man is working. Otherwise, I'm going to send it first thing in the morning and we won't post it till the afternoon.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Meg.
May, just a quick question, because I know this is kind of the place where we're going to tackle some of these things. Are you expecting any contentious issues on Tuesday night that we need to be prepared and ready for as an executive committee?
Well, if anyone listened to the last committee meeting, you'll know a lot. We are, well, I guess I should give a little more detail. So we, where on the vote sheet, there will be something to, you know, that safe haven at 91 East Broadway, we've been, you know, talking about a long time. You know, at November, the provider and DHS came to give a presentation about, you know, what they planned there. So there'll be something for the full board to vote on, sort of like acknowledging and appreciating the services that they are proposing. And so we intended, it's actually good, you know, what the full board voted on a reso, but actually it's not really a reso, it's just simply a letter. So at full board, we've already voted on it, so of course it'll have to appear on the vote sheet, but we will have to reformat into the letter style instead of the reso style. So it'll be in the style of a letter written to the CEO of the service provider and saying, you know, dear so-and-so, you know, thank you for coming to the meeting. We heard these things and, you know, sincerely, CB3. So it'll be the exact same text with some grammar changes that we'll present from a committee member will present from the floor. Yeah, I don't know if, you know, members of the public will come and, you know, kind of talk about what they want to talk about, but, you know, it's, that'll be it. And
Okay.
I know that there's another meeting being planned for members of the public.
Right.
To, you know, raise their concerns, of which they have many.
Okay.
So is that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Are there
May.
any questions or?
Yeah, if there's any questions for May, please let me know. Okay, thanks. Thank you, May.
Okay.
Linda, you are going for Jackie for land use?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
We had two issues. First of all, our urban fellow Maya has done wonderful work in putting together a draft related to what we will eventually have a questionnaire relating to sustainability and resiliency that we can ask developers to complete. So we'll have certain points to discuss when we go to consider an application. The committee was very interested in this and wanted very much to combine that with our old questionnaire, which needs revision, that did not address these topics, but addressed other things. So this is still a work in process. And we really appreciate what Maya has done. Dominic has joined as a public member, and he's done a lot of work on this with Maya also. Well, there'll be more about that next time. The second thing is the Two Bridges area. There's to be environmental remediation. Trevor is very more knowledgeable about this than I am, and please kick in if you want to, Trev. The committee had a long discussion about this. We had what I thought was a good presentation, a good honest presentation from OER, but some things were missing, and we wrote a resolution. I don't know if you want me to go through that resolution now, Paul, or just let
Was the
me-
resolution passed? Was my
Well,
question.
it isn't really a resolution. It's a set of comments on it. So it's a bunch of comments on the plan. It's not a resolution. It doesn't require a vote.
It didn't, so there was no vote taken on Tuesday
You
night.
guys didn't vote on it?
We
We
voted.
voted.
Yes, I don't know if the full board needs to vote on it.
Yes.
They
yeah.
do,
Yes.
huh? Yeah, so this is, there was, there were some representatives of people who live nearby who are pretty concerned. And there clearly needs to be some, serious conversations with the community itself about this project. But it's an environmental remediation prior to the gigantic development 70-story building that's going in that area.
So if I could just mention the process, this doesn't come to us for approval.
No.
It comes to us and the public for comments. We got the comment period. It's generally a 30-day comment period. We got the comment period extended till after our full board. They were very happy to do that. So that's why the board, is voting on submitting comments. It's because that's the process for this this remediation.
I think this was a very complicated thing, and this is not anybody's fault in particular, but it's a complicated thing to deal with in one meeting. It would have been great if we could have had one meeting just to hear the presentation and talk about it, and then pass some sort of list of comments at the next one, but I know that wasn't possible.
No, actually, it's not a problem at all. They promised us they will take just a serious consideration to any comments that we submit in following months. I've actually talked to Jackie about it and said if people want to put it back on the agenda and make more comments, we absolutely can do that.
Okay, that's great.
The problem is that they admitted quite a few things at the meeting. They want to start construction
Yes.
next month. And even if we are able to provide comments, they would have already picked a process as to the process they want to use for remediation, and they would have already started. And I wasn't aware of this in this for this particular project or other projects. They're folding in the remediation with construction. It's not two separate things. They want to start the foundation along with the remediation process by calling it part of the remediation. So that's the reason why we wanted the comments to be extended, because the comments are fine, but they're going to go ahead with whatever they think is best. And the process will have started probably before our next full board meeting.
Mhm.
That's absolutely true. And you're right, this is more complicated, I think, than a lot of projects. There are other kinds of comments that are often made, like if there's a problem in the community with the truck routes or something like that, that can be fixed later on. They will pay attention to that stuff, but you're right. There's this very, I don't want to use a judgmental word, unusual process of getting early construction in to get a 421A break.
I'll say what they said. They want to drive in exactly one pile next month to get the 421A exemption, and then stop work until May in terms of foundation, all to get that tax exemption.
Okay, so I don't know if this was, when you discussed with the fellow, I don't know if this was discussed at all. She will not be available for the next meeting. I'm assuming she will continue working through Dominic, and that I should put it on the agenda, and Dominic will explain what's ever going on. Does that sound right to you?
Yes,
check with- yeah.
that sounds right. And yeah, we did know that. But she
Okay.
also said that she has some extra time and she's very willing to work on the larger package that we're interested in. So she's great.
Great. Yes, she is. We're very lucky with her.
Okay. And I might as well just roll on and say that the Landmarks Committee did not meet.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda, for both reports. Trevor, thank you for your contributions on land use and that project. Trevor, the question is for you. Do you expect people to come out for this specific item on Tuesday night?
I do expect for people to come out. I don't expect as many comments, primarily because it's very technical. And I was trying to make sure that folks with their comments kept it to the remediation, but that's, as we all know, on the community board, that's very difficult to channel that way. So I do expect for people to come out.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. Appreciate it. All right, so that's it for the big committee reports. I don't think NYCHA Section 8 met this month. I don't think Arts met this month, correct?
Correct.
All right, so there was no subcommittee meetings. So we're gonna go to old business. There was something that was brought up last month about, I believe, the Chinatown Planning Committee. Is that correct? I believe I have a meeting next month to inquire about why that's still in play on CB3 and just to get better information on it. So hopefully at executive committee in February, I'll have a better answer for everybody in regards to that committee staying afloat. Two, social media. If any of the chairs want agenda items or specific items that they know that the public may want to come out to, or is there something they want to post on Twitter or Facebook? Those are our two social media outlets right now. Please let me know. I do have the Twitter handle and account access, so I can post that. Thomas Rose has been helping with the Facebook, but I know he's been kind of busy, so I will do my best to try to maybe change that up at some point. That's a little bit trickier for some reason. And also just a couple things also in the email this morning with in the exec items. You saw that the calendar for March was already sent to you to see if those are good dates for the chairs. Trying to reincorporate that was usually done face to face. Try to respond as soon as possible if those dates are good. And also wording on your agendas. Please read your specific agenda items and whether the wording matches up with what's going to happen in the agenda. You know, it's a draft agenda for a reason, because we can change it up and make sure the writing is reflective of what's going to happen on the agenda. If something says there's a reso coming, it's going to be on there, right? You want to be specific in what you say, so that way the public knows, we don't get any blowback or anything like that. So that way we're clear, the office is clear, I'm clear, and there's no questions, and we move forward. All right. So that's the old business. That stuff. Go ahead, Susan.
I just want to ask May, this is about your social media. If we could actually make some decisions now, it'd be great. And May, what do you think about putting on social media the mental health homeless issue that's been in the news and all that a lot, that Eric's going to come talk about?
You mean the agenda item for next month?
Yeah, we don't even actually have final language for the agenda item yet. But when we
I
do,
think it would be really good because it's very
Okay.
extremely timely right now. I mean, people are talking about it.
yeah,
And he has a really, I mean, he has a, a good background, and, he tells a story, and he has a full, I mean, he started out. And I heard I read today, he's going to be on the city council. They have a mental health committee, mental health and disabilities committee, and he's actually on the committee.
that's great. That's great. Okay, so
So I
that's
think
one
that's really
item.
Okay.
So that's one item. When we have the final language, we'll give to you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Any new business anybody wants to bring up? Oh, don't be so shy. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. So we'll take a final vote and then we'll adjourn. Go ahead, Larissa.
I have one question before we end.
Oh,
Sorry.
Trevor, right under the gun. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but David, what were you making? Sorry, I saw the cornstarch and,
Oh, well, that cornstarch, that was for fried tofu.
okay,
It's air
Thanks.
fried.
Where's my invitation?
thanks. That's all I had.
That was the end of that.
David can give a cooking class.
That falls under new food business. Okay. All right. Larissa, go ahead.
Okay, I'll expect my invitation in the email for the fried tofu later. Okay, final roll call vote. Paul Rangel,
Yes.
Eric Diaz,
Yes.
Tariq Darrell,
Yes.
Marissa Shaneberg, yes. Laura Lugo,
Yes.
Herman Hewitt,
Yes.
Hey Mei Lee,
Yes.
Jackie Wong is not here. Linda Jones,
Yes.
Michelle Coopersmith,
Yes.
Trevor Holland, sorry. Whew.
Yes.
Okay, that's final vote. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned. See everyone Tuesday night.
Okay.
Thank you for
bye-bye.
the quick meeting, Paul.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Loved it.
Very good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Paul, before you drop off, oh, you dropped off. Okay.